And we're waiting to live stream,
There we go.
and we're live.
I love that moment. When we're just waiting, we're all staring at the camera, trying to figure out, are we live? Are we not? Do we know? And it's just fun being here with you guys. Hey, for those of you that don't know, my name is Jared Jarvis. I'm here today with Ronai Brumett and Leanne Mason. We have a question for you guys today, and I think it's a valid question for everyday life, and that is, do you experience pain? And there's lots of different ways we're talking about this today. But I jumped on and we were in the midst of a discussion, and Renee just said exactly what I was thinking. We just need to go live with this because the discussion was too good.
We always
So
try to plan, and it would as we're planning, like stuff's coming out, and I'm like, oh, forget it, forget the plan, let's just go. But that's my activator, activator, activate. Like, no plan, let's go.
let's
But
go.
Leanne shared an amazing podcast with us this morning. It's a Mel Robbins podcast. And Leanne, do you want to take it away? Let us know what it was.
Right. So, and I'll drop the link after I talk. But Mel Robbins works for CNN, and in working for CNN, and I hope I don't slaughter his name, but it's Dr. Sanjay Gupta. And he is a neurosurgeon. And he wrote a book titled It Doesn't Have to Hurt, Your Smart Guide to a Pain-Free Life. And he wrote the book after doing a lot of research for his wife and his mother who experienced chronic pain. Now, pain can be emotional, physical, spiritual, all of it, right? And he brought it all together. One of the things that just he talked about is some of the groundbreaking science behind pain. And he talked about the fact that in the United States, we use 90% of the world's painkillers, which means we're masking. And he wanted us to consider that pain may not be as bad if we didn't have as much baggage.
Yeah, that was the part that I found really, really interesting is when you have a lot of stress, when you have a lot of emotional distress, your physical pain is worse, which then affects your sleep. And then if your sleep is bad, it affects your physical pain to make it worse. And it's just this vicious cycle that happens.
Yeah, it was fascinating. And I have read the book, The Body Keeps Score, and he talked about that. He's like, more and more science is showing that your body keeps score. Now, our body is meant to support itself, to regenerate, to help you recover. And he said, now, if you've actually broken a bone, you need intervention. If you've done some of these things, you do need medical intervention. But we've become a world of, oh, I just need to rest. I need to stop moving. And he said, we're not getting the right type of rest. He's like, we've been taught to stay off of things and to elevate and to ice and do compression when that is reducing the inflammation that is what the body naturally does to bring blood flow to the area that needs the healing, right? So I know we talk about a lot about inflammation and reducing inflammation in the body. There is acute inflammation and there is chronic inflammation. And when we're talking about reducing inflammation, it's the chronic inflammation brought on more by lifestyle, by what we eat, our stress level. You guys, there is so much science between stress and what it's doing to the body.
Well, and a lot of times, when we talk about supporting our body with its inflammation, supporting proper inflammation reduction. Because you're right, the inflammation is there for a reason. It's your body saying, hey, slow down. We need to fix this thing that's going on. So s- so often we do need to slow down, but you're right. We need to not absolutely stop doing. And we also need to not be so quick to cut. My husband went in because he was dealing with some issues with his wrists, and so they went straight to it's carpal tunnel, right? And I was like, "Hey, why don't we try PT?" And he's like, "Well, my doctor just wants to do surgery." And I said, "Hey, can I have you go see this physical therapist that I know they're not on insurance? It's a different," and she was able to track it all the way up into his neck. And now he has to do something called flossing instead. So every time his wrist hurts, he actually flosses his neck. It's just a stretch and floss, and then the pain in his wrist goes away. So sometimes we also need to get to the root cause. And his is actually stress that he holds in his shoulders.
Hmm.
Huh, that stress that can cause extra pain. So, my caution with people is make sure that you are getting second opinions and maybe look for some natural solutions before we just go straight to cutting. Now, oftentimes there are major reasons that we need to cut and totally understand that. So, just make sure you're getting some really good medical advice from a couple of different philosophies, I think.
Well, and I think that's totally accurate because I was having headaches and I was having restless sleep, right? And I chose to go to physical therapy first to get kind of checked out that way. And it was the stress that I carry because everybody carries stress in different places, right? You can carry it in your lower back. You can carry it. Many people carry it either in their neck or in their shoulders or across their chest, like
Hips.
and hips. Yeah. And so going to a physical therapist that can do some manipulations of the body and actually find where maybe some of that muscle isn't working properly, right? Like I didn't even notice because we don't think about some of this stuff that I couldn't completely turn my head. I could turn my head enough, but I didn't realize I couldn't turn it to where you can see behind you. You're supposed to be able to turn it beyond your shoulder. And she was like, "Oh, you're super tight in there." So I have a list of exercises or not exercises, stretches to be able to release some of that tension. Also, some of that baggage is emotional, right? There's a thing called emotional physical trauma. And sometimes something physical happens and it creates an emotion, or something emotional happens and it creates a physical response. Our emotions and our body parts and events in our bodies are connected. And Ronay and I are both trained and certified in emotion code. And I take it to a little bit deeper level with body code and belief code. Our subconscious mind was created to keep us safe. It's not always accurate, right? Our fight or flight kicks in. And I was talking to Ronay about the fact that yesterday I had a triggering moment. And what happened is instead of having a calm conversation, I went into fight mode. Like, and Joseph has even brought out, he goes, your tone of voice when you're in fight or flight, even if you're thinking you're having a calm conversation, your tone of voice is angry because I am ready to defend myself. But what happens in my body? I tense up my neck, my arms. I actually, if I stop and think, I make fists when I'm in an anxious situation. So, how much am I creating inflammation? Because it's like I'm ready, I'm being chased by a bear and I'm not. So, what are some things we can naturally do to support this response?
Number one, breathe. That is one of those things that like everybody stops breathing when we're like tensed up and everything, like everything just gets. I was working with a client and it felt like there was ants under her skin, right? And I was like, okay, let's take a moment, put your hands over your heart, because this sends a signal from to your brain that says we're safe. So you put your hands over your heart. A lot of times I say just close your eyes and just take a deep breath in and then breathe out. Now you can do box breathing, which is breathing in for 4, holding for 4, breathing out for 4, holding for 4. You can, there's another one that's you breathe in for 3, hold for 4, breathe out for 5, breathe in for, it's like there's different techniques. I just keep it simple. Just slow that breathing down, get calm, get as comfortable as possible, and just breathe. And it works even better if you grab some oil. And one of my favorites is actually Breathe, because it's one of those ones that just opens up your airways and lets you actually get more oxygen in. And it just feels really good. Now, you can also use Citrus Bliss, which is another absolute favorite. Balance, whatever your happy place oil is, it's going to help calm everything down because it sends that signal to your brain that says, hey, we are safe. We can calm it down. So that would be my number one thing is
So
like,
not
let's,
only that, with the essential oil, it disrupts the thought process.
yes,
The other thing is if you don't have an essential oil, I just finished Mel Robbins' book, 54321. Counting backwards disrupts the thought process.
brings everything to your prefrontal cortex.
Yeah. So the other thing, there is science behind meditation and how meditation affects your pain receptors using virtual reality devices. They're just showing that your brain, whether it actually happened to you or not, creates what happens in the body. And if you are watching tragic things, painful things over and over, and one of the scientific things that they've done to prove this is they take a prosthetic hand and set it in front of you, and they cover your hand. And to start with, they will touch points on your actual hand and the prosthetic hand until you're like, but you're watching the prosthetic one, right? And then after a few touches, they take a hammer to the prosthetic hand and your physical hand, and you will react exactly like it was your hand that got hit because you've associated that prosthetic hand. That is why also those who have had amputee that are amputees have, and they coin it phantom pain because the limb no longer exists. Well, they've done tests, and I can't remember what they're called. Jared, you might be able to help us. Where when they cut off a piece of the leaf, in this test, the leaf shows whole energetically. Do you remember what it's called, Jared?
The photographic technique that they use actually shows an energetic connection still there, and it's fascinating to be able to see these photos and that aura that still exists in that space and in that environment. Just thinking through some of the things that you guys have been talking about, breathing, absolutely, that is key. Hydration, so important. You know, if we're not hydrated, the body can't respond, can't react the way that it needs to. It's not being able to move those vital nutrients around the way that it needs to. Our muscles bind, our joints get achy. There's all kinds of things. Hydration plays a big part of that. And if you're not getting enough sleep, like good, restful, quality sleep, meaning turning off your electronics before you're going to bed, not having those lights that are, glowing and keeping you from actually getting down into REM sleep. Good quality sleep. It can be hard to come by, but it is worth its weight in gold when it comes to really just allowing your body to restore.
I saw
Some of the things. Oh, go ahead.
oh, there was some fascinating information, and this is one of those things to know if you are an introvert or an extrovert. and you go to a party. Okay. The extrovert is fed by the energy that's there. They're all excited. They get maybe louder as the party goes on. They're more energized as the party goes on. The extrovert, they've timed it, has 2 hours and 20 minutes. And then they are depleted. Their body is actually depleted of acetylcholine. And so some of the techniques are for them to arrive 20 minutes late to a party and then make sure you leave by about that 2 hour mark. Now, if that's not possible, they need to go into a quiet room, like maybe escape to the bathroom, and 10 minutes of silence, not scrolling on your phone, not doing anything else, but 10 minutes of just breathing and meditating will give them an additional 45 minutes that they could be there. But it starts to then wane again. And so when they leave that party, it takes them like an hour or so to like recover. Let's say they stay an extra couple hours, it can take up to 2 days for them to recover. So it's just fascinating how the body works. So knowing what your introvert or extrovert style is, knowing what your strengths are, can also help with all of these things with your body healing naturally.
Yeah. We also, they, in some of the scientific um, things on sleep, have shown light pollution, sound pollution. If you live in a city, having a white noise machine that cancels out some of that city noise because it's not allowing your brain to deregulate so that you go into a deep REM sleep. Also, we need 6 to 8 hours of sleep. And your body does anywhere from a 45-minute to a 90-minute sleep cycle. And if you are chronically hitting the snooze button because you feel like you need more sleep, you are damaging that sleep cycle. So Mel Robbins in her 54321 book talked about the importance of not having your alarm clock or your phone to where you can snooze next to you, where you actually have to get up and get out of bed and make yourself go because you are actually creating some neurological defects and deficiencies by snoozing. So if you have to be up by a certain time and you know you're going to bed at a certain time, if your body naturally wakes up and you look at the clock and you go, I have 10 more minutes, you're better to get up when your body is naturally through a sleep cycle than to try and get 10 more minutes sleep.
Mm.
Proper sleep helps with natural pain response and inflammation response. Positive mental health helps with natural response. Socialization, and I love how Ronai brought up the introvert and extrovert. Studies are now showing that since 2020, when we are all in isolation, many of us who are naturally need to be around people programmed ourselves to be fearful of being around people. So find out what your natural response is and try to get back to that instead of the way we were programmed that group settings are fearful.
Yeah.
So we unpacked a lot. I have a new book to read. I dropped the link in the chat for the podcast. Start with the podcast. See if it opens up some discussions for you. There's plenty of research out there. You don't have to recreate the wheel, but starting to look at what are we training our bodies to do? Are we stopping the body from naturally doing what it's supposed to do and creating the need for more intervention that is chemical versus natural? I'm going to go back to gallery view. Any final thoughts?
I don't know. Those were all pretty good.
Yeah,
Jared?
that seemed to, I mean, just really succinct. And while I was here and you talking about a new book, I was thinking, we're also gonna we should turn part of this into what are we learning? What are we reading? What are we, going through? Because I know a lot of people ask me on a pretty regular basis, Jared, what kinds of things are good resources to just dial in? And, if I want to have something to learn, and I think that 5 4 3 2 1 is an amazing resource for people to be able to do. And it'd be fun to be able to have some discussion, a little book club, so to speak, about some of these things that we're learning.
Well, if you want to be a part of a book club, you could always join the Faithfully Unleash Your Strengths group, where people are sharing their insights from the book Faithfully Unleash Your Strengths. So we could drop that link in here, and if you're interested in getting the book, you can get that at ronaibrumett.com on underneath the book section. There's a few
I'll
books
grab
there to
both of
choose
those
from.
links.
Just
And that's a great option. Why don't we make sure that we dial back into that and have a discussion about that here on one of our Wellness Wednesdays.
Yeah, it's been really fun listening to other people's insights as they're just like opening the book at random and going, "Hey, so I was praying about this and then this is what came up today." So that is one of my favorite things right now.
Spiritual wellness is key. And a lot of people lean away from spiritual wellness, right? And whatever your spirituality is perfect. You just have to believe in something greater than yourself.
Yes.
But yes, Faithfully Unleash Your Strengths is definitely a Christian based book helping you understand how God and Christ sees you. So I will drop the link to Ronay's books. And thanks for joining us on Wednesday Wellness.